Great news. Green card interview waivers are here. What does this mean? If you have a case with USCIS in the United States doing adjustment of status, they will likely waive your interview for most marriage cases at this time and also most other family types of cases. Due to the huge backlog that's been created, an internal policy decision was made by the Biden administration to do this without giving fanfare or attention to it. But all of a sudden, since last December, almost all our cases have had their interviews waived. Now, this does not apply to people going through the embassy system for an immigrant visa. You still have to attend your embassy appointment. So be mindful of that. That won't be waived, but it's helping a lot of people who are in the United States doing CR1, IR1, K1 adjustment cases. These are marriage and fiance kind of cases in particular that we handle specifically and more widely at our office that are getting these waivers. Now, let's get into how this actually works. After you submit your case, you may or may not have to do a fingerprinting appointment depending on if they have your fingerprints or not, but eventually they will typically have an interview. Now, most people up until recently would not have submitted their medical checkup with the initial application. So people would get what's called a request for evidence, an RFE, asking for them to send a copy of their medical checkup form I-693. Now, it's very important to be proper in how you do this and make sure the paperwork looks good. 5 or 10% of the time, the doctors misdo or have errors in the medical checkup, and you need to check on that by getting a copy of the results before submitting to USCIS. We did a whole video on this, breaking down everything you need to know to be mindful of the problems that exist with the medical checkup. We'll have a link below in the description to watch that full video with samples of how a proper medical checkup looks like. Although the newer forms that come out, this mostly looks the same. Plus, we have a checklist of things you need to know about even before contacting the doctor. So it's very important to watch that video if you're submitting an I-693. But nonetheless, they'll ask for this for you to mail it to them to avoid having to go in person to give this medical checkup. So a couple of important things that pop up from there. We're getting mistakes where they're asking for a medical checkup for people who came in on the fiance visa and are doing adjustment of status in the United States. Now, fiance visa holders do their medical checkup at the U.S. Embassy abroad. Well, not the embassy, the doctor, the panel physician, what they call it, who's associated with the embassy abroad. So we've already taken care of that portion. Now, some people don't get the necessary vaccines, and they could do those in the U.S., but almost everyone does a vaccine at the panel physician, so you'll have records of that. If you haven't done those vaccines, you'll need to get them here. That's a different story, but almost everybody gets the vaccines done with the panel physician, so I have a piece of paper that covers that. So if you're doing a K1 fiance visa adjustment, they're asking for the medical. That is an error if you're filing for adjustment of status within 1 year of coming into the United States. This rule is explained in the instructions for the adjustment of status form. So the officers need to be informed of that because we're seeing this error happen. We're seeing other errors come out as well, or at least with cases we submit, where they're asking for documents we've already sent them, whether it's the affidavit of support, whether it's the I-94, passport bio pages, proof of relationship. At our firm, we send too much information. We double up whatever we need to send to avoid problems, but we are getting requests for evidence. So if you're getting a request for evidence for things you've already submitted, this is a typical error that's happening. So be prepared for that. It's not necessarily something to be worried about. Can't say for sure because I don't know your case, but usually it's not. Another weird thing to notice is that the letter that comes for you will have an address where you're supposed to send the documents to. And that address frequently will be some random field office. You might be in Los Angeles and you get a letter from Missouri. You might be in Florida and you get a letter from the local Texas field office in Houston. They are moving these things around, reshuffling them in an effort to speed things up. So if they see an office or an officer doesn't have enough work, they'll send it there for them to finish this up to get it in. So it's not an unusual thing to get a notice of that. But once you get all the documents together, if it's proper, everything's okay, follow the instructions on the request for evidence notice. You have to submit the documents requested. If a medical is requested, the sealed envelope of the medical, put it all in a package with a copy of the request for evidence so you can connect the request USCIS send with the packages, the documents in the package they're sending, and you mail it to them. A typical question we ask is how long after that will we expect results? Most cases, 9 out of 10 times, between 2 to 8 weeks later, you'll get notification of approval and a green card. We have one-off cases that are going longer, and they have to extra work to contact the USCIS office to see what's going on, why is this taking longer, but typically it'll be done in 2 to 8 week time frame, usually the faster. So it's good news right there. We're seeing a lot of good stuff. One last note I want to make is for those requesting work permits and advanced parole travel documents, EADs and APs. Now, we submit these with the application. These new system where they're waiving the interview causes cases to be approved much faster, between 3 to 5 months on average. But people still need to travel potentially. They still want a work permit and social security number. So we submit those requests with the initial application. A quarter of the time nowadays, we're getting the work permit, not the advance parole necessarily, travel permission, but the work permit approved within a month of filing. That's 1/4 of the time. 3/4 of the time, we never get the employment authorization advance parole approved because the green card is just coming in the mail. So they just cancel out those applications because the green card works as travel permission and for work permission. So, you might be lucky and be able to get the work permission faster. But if not, you have to wait unless you have an expedited reason. We had one case where a person found a really good job and they were going to lose it, made the expedited request to show the importance of it, and were able to get the work permit about 6 weeks after filing. But their case, their green card was actually approved a month after that. So it wasn't that much of a rush. We didn't know it was going to be that much of a rush because we didn't expect the green card to be approved so quickly, but it all got done very quickly. It was a New York case, so really happy with it. So that was an update. I wanted to fill you in on what's going on right now. Unfortunately, all these things could change overnight. They don't tell us when these policies come into place, and they don't tell us when they're going out. So keep an eye on this channel. Have an immigration attorney handy that you have a relationship with, that you'd ask this stuff. Follow our newsletter, the JK Law newsletter. We'll put a link below in the description where we try to update every month on really special things that are happening in the immigration system. If you're interested in setting up a private consultation, email the office at info@jqklaw.com and like and subscribe so you get more information just like this. Thank you for watching this educational program. To get the latest videos, click the subscribe button and the notification bell icon. Also, help us help the immigrant community by liking this video and sharing it with your family and friends. You can also find us on other social media sites like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter, where you find the latest updates on immigration news, policy changes, and tips. Be safe and God bless. See you soon.